Welcome everyone, it is Dylan from Class 1A bringing another My Hero Academia chapter breakdown. This week we have chapter 349, Battle Flame. And I just want to talk about this cover because I love it so much. We get this like comic retro style cover with Horikoshi's and my two favorite characters, Bakugo and Mirako. And just thinking back one or two chapters when they're at UA, the banter between them when they were fighting is just absolutely 10 out of 10. I love the energy they bring. And we should be getting more of them soon, not this chapter, or maybe next chapter, but the chapter after that, we will get more of Bakugo and Mirako together. But with that, let's just get right into the chapter then. We kick off the chapter with Deku leaving the island, heading for UA and a showdown with Shigaraki. He has combined Fajin and Float together from the 3rd and 7th user to effectively fly. Okay, so we are in endgame territory, which means Deku's gonna be busted, okay? He's gonna be absolutely busted. He's gonna have some insane quirk combinations at this point, and I just love just seeing him like this. I mean, we're at the end, so just go all out with it, okay? Let Deku Superman be a real thing. As he is not moving as fast as he likes, Deku begins to get frustrated, but the second user keeps him calm and centers him. The second user reminds Deku of his own quirk, the one that will be held for a last resort. And I think it's just so fitting that Deku's final quirk that he gets is a mystery at this point still. Like, even in the home stretch, it's a mystery. And it's a quirk that has changed over time, and it looks completely different from when the second user was using it. Because One For All is a stockpiling quirk, that means whatever it was pretty weak, and then over time got very, very strong to the point of where it's basically a completely different quirk. What we are getting here is Horikoshi setting us up for an absolute god quirk that is going to be pulled out right when it's needed. And I'm so glad that they're saving the final quirk to just be something busted and completely ridiculous. Like, hell yeah, let's go. Let's actually go plus ultra. But I just want to know what is behind this door. Like, is that where the secret lies? Is there something here? So my theory for the end of My Hero Academia has always been that Deku is going to get rid of all of quirks. This is just how I think it's going to line up. If you want to hear more of my thoughts on it, I have an entire video about quirk singularity, and that leads into the end of the My Hero Academia series, so go check that out if you want my full explanation. But essentially, I think Deku's going to eliminate quirks at the end. So it would be really cool if the second user's quirk isn't like a big beam cannon or anything like that, but instead is like, maybe he used to be able to turn off someone's quirk for a short amount of time, but because of One For All and like the stockpiling quirk that got it really, really strong, maybe Deku can just blast everyone in a radius's quirk forever. I just want something absolutely bonkers like that, okay? So regardless of what it is, it's going to be absolutely busted, and it's going to be used against Shigaraki or AFO for sure. Back on the island, Toga is done messing around. She prepares to take on Uraraka and Froppy with her ace, twice his blood. And I'm so incredibly hyped for this fight because I want to see Toga use Sadman's Parade. I mean, the first time that we actually got to see it in the first war arc, or I guess the first war arc, that was more MVA, but it was incredibly hyped to see, and I want to see it again. I mean, she was one of the first people that actually had their quirk evolution shown to us, so I want to see this as like the culmination of her character, of like her at 100%, and this is her ability. I'm so ready to see it. Then we are back on set in Kamino Ward with everyone's favorite show, Keeping Up with the Todorokis. Dabi has blanketed the area with flames, keeping all non-fire quirk users out. Dabi calls out Shoto for being Endeavor's pawn and cleaning up his mess. But Shoto is here on his own will, and he is ready to take down his big brother. And this is just such an interesting dynamic of a fight, because on like one hand, you have Endeavor, who's not there. Dabi is the culmination and the physical representation of his biggest mistakes in life, and he's not there for the fight, and that feels wrong for his character arc. But Shoto is there, and he chose to be there. In fact, Endeavor wanted to be there, but Shoto wrote his name down and said, no, I'm going to be the one to deal with this. I think that dynamic is just so interesting at this point. And I think what's important here is that it shows Shoto stepping up as the man of the family, because clearly Endeavor's not fit for that role at this point. He's destroyed his relationship with most of his kids. Him and his wife are estranged. At this point, Shoto is the head of the family, and he's showing that by stepping up and dealing with the problems Endeavor created for the family on his own. And I think this is perfect leading out of everything that we built upon with Shoto, because he's always been in his father's shadow. He's always been like a clone of him and like the masterpiece that he was creating to supersede All Might. But now Shoto is his own man. He's taking the initiative and saying, no, I'm stepping forward, I'm dealing with these problems because you can't. Because if you think about it, Shoto really is becoming the head of the family at this point. I mean, his actions led to Endeavor self-reflecting on himself. His actions led to his family getting together a lot more. His actions led to his mother finally coming out of like the essential coma that she was in and just secluding in on herself. She's actually reaching out to the family now and talking with them. And all of that is because of Shoto. So it only makes sense for him to finally complete that by stepping forward and getting rid of Dabi. Regardless, this fight is going to be hype. We end the chapter with our big setup before the fight, the origin of Dabi. Horikoshi does his origin stories in 2 parts. Usually it's like, how did they become the way that they are? Like the big why behind their character. And then the second, it is always like, well, how did they go from that position to where they're at today? And we know what happened with Toya. Like, we know how he was cast out of the family and everyone thought that he was dead and whatnot. But how did Dabi come into existence? How did he go from this like broken kid in the forest who just burnt himself up to actually being the incredible, scary villain that we know today as Dabi? And that's why we expect from this next chapter is an origin story on Dabi, and we finally get to see how Toya went from being burnt up in the forest to Dabi. So what to expect for next chapter? I would expect the Dabi origin story to follow immediately after. It's going to take up the entire chapter, but oh man, it is going to be a good one. I'm ready to see how Dabi came into existence. Because there's like so much medical stuff going on with him of having parts replaced and things stapled back on together. And I mean his jaw too. This is clearly like a fake or replicated jaw in some way because that's what they found initially. They found nothing but his jawbone. So this must be like something fake. So I'm guessing we're going to see the doctor involved here because that makes the most sense with AFO and him getting into the AFO crowd is that Dr. Ujiko finds him or is brought to him in some sort of way, and he's probably the one that actually set Dabi up with the body he has today. But we are just going to have to wait 2 weeks until we see what happens with Dabi because Horikoshi is taking a much needed break. But until then, if you want to still keep up with My Hero Academia, go check out Vigilantes. We cover all the chapters and it is incredible. The ending of Vigilantes is lining up really well to the ending of My Hero Academia, so go check that out because it will make your experience all the more better. But until then, I will see you all next class.